want to ask you, what are your goals for this season? What are your goals on the track this season? What are your personal goals this season? What are your family goals this season? Your financial goals, your career goals? What are you shooting to do in the second half of this year? If you accomplish them, they would make the most difference in your life. They would allow you to have more joy. They would allow you to have more happiness. They would allow you to have more freedom. They would have you to have more clarity. They would allow you to have more peace. They would allow you to have more satisfaction. What are those things in this roller derby season or in your life that if you were to accomplish them, they're going to make the biggest difference for you? Okay. I'm going to try one more time to see this. Ooh, you know what I can do? I can look at them on my phone. I forgot. This is my backup plan. There's always a way around it. Oh, I see all your comments. There they are. Oh, wait, hang on. There we go. Give me them comments, y'all. There we go. Hi, friends. All right. So Christy says, no derby, but I'm preparing to backpack the Grand Canyon for 3 days in October. Yes, Rowdy. Courtney says, talk to you already. Yeah, you did, Courtney. But endurance, stamina, jamming. I love it. Lisa, okay, perfecto. Awesome. These are freaking great. All right, we're going to do this thing. So today we're going to talk about the three key pieces to building consistency in any area of your life, but primarily right now we're focusing on roller derby, but these work for everywhere. Awesome. Lisa says, getting back into a routine for this year, moving to a regular routine, going from a night person to a morning person. Yes, I know you saw my post today about night person versus morning person, right? I love that. Awesome. Sweet. So these are the three keys to building consistency to elevate performance without burning out on the track. The first one is understanding the 3 Ds of an elite athlete or a highly successful person. The second one is understanding the results slash motivation curve. And then the third one is understanding the staleness cycle. Okay. When you can understand these goals, not just understand them, but take them on, leverage them as principles inside of your life, you're going to be able to build consistency. You're going to be able to become an elite performer in any area of your life. And you're going to do it without burning yourself out. Okay. So I'm just making sure. Questions? We're good. All right, so let's start with the 3 Ds of an elite athlete. So the 3 Ds of an elite athlete are, you can write these down, I highly recommend it, discipline, drive, and determination. Okay, now these things show up in different ways, but they are very, very interrelated. So if you think about it, discipline is sort of the short term. It's the ability to just show up. Discipline is the daily muscle that puts your butt at the gym. It's your daily muscle that makes you go to practice. Discipline is like the spark, right? It's just the like, let me just like actually just get there and start, right? So it's the discipline of learning how to show up for yourself. Elite athletes must have a showing up muscle. Okay. It is the foundation of anything that we do inside of any kind of athletic performance. Now, this is obviously, if you're showing up, this is the baseline for consistency. Okay. And discipline is something that it takes practice. But the thing is that sometimes we think that we have to be excited or motivated in order to have discipline. Discipline is showing up far after the excitement that you said you would do it has dissipated. Discipline is, again, mastering the art of just showing up. Okay. Hi, Amanda. Welcome. The second piece of this is understanding drive. Okay. Drive is more of a mid-range view. So I'm just going to use practice for an example, right? Discipline is, I don't really feel like going. It's kind of cold out. I just want to stay home. I'm kind of tired, but you go, nope, I'm going. You do the short-term action of getting your ass in the car, getting yourself to practice. Okay, that's the discipline of just showing up. Then once you're there, this is where drive comes in. Okay, drive is that mid-range view. It's using your vision to spark energetic action. Okay, this is our intensity in our action. It's not just showing up and being a wet blanket, but it's actually showing up and putting in some sort of concerted effort, some sort of energy, right? This is where we're kind of like, we see what it is that we want to accomplish maybe in that day. We're starting to look maybe a little bit more forward, but this is where we actually have to start pouring in energy. So you can just show up to practice, or you can show up and you can pour in energy. You can try a little bit harder. Okay. And that's where the drive comes in, is the actual momentum and energy inside of the thing that you're doing. And then the next piece of this, the last piece of this, the third D is determination. Now, determination is like a long view commitment to a goal. Determination is, I'm going to do it until. Okay. Determination is the thing that we do for the love of the game. We do it for the victory. We do it for the championship. And determination is really going to drive. Okay. Because when we can have a good long term view of what it is we're trying to create, making the team, getting that promotion, whatever it is in your life, if we can have that long term vision, that's going to allow us to pull the drive out of us and the promise that you're going to do it until. Okay. Now, these three Ds are all interrelated. And as I'm talking about this, I want you to comment in the chat box with which one of these is missing for you right now. I'm curious. Do you feel like you're missing the discipline, the act of showing up in some area of your life, whether it's at the gym, whether it's in the kitchen, whether it's with your partner, whether it's at work, whether it's at practice? Is it the discipline piece that's missing for you? If so, where in your life? Or is it the drive part that's missing for you? Are you missing that oomph, that like, okay, I'm going to show up, but I'm really going to go for it. I'm going to push myself harder. I'm going to be the best version of myself. I'm going to show up and work and I'm going to do my job the best that I can. I'm going to show up at practice and I'm going to be a leader. Or are you missing the determination? Are you missing the long-term doing it until goal? Are you just kind of showing up and then like working just like kind of, because you're not really sure if you're all in or all out anyways? You like, I kind of like this sport, I kind of like this job, I kind of like this person that I'm dating. Like, or do you have a long-term vision for these situations that's allowing you to show up as the best version of yourself? So I'm curious, which of these pieces are missing for you? You can comment in the chat box. Now, here's the key. Here's how these are all interrelated. If you have discipline and no drive, what this often looks like in your life is frustration and plateaus. Okay. It may be that you have the discipline and you show up every day, but you don't have the drive or a plan or a goal, but you should be just showing up. You're not putting in enough energy in the show up to create any kind of a result. And this is often where people end up getting frustrated. They end up plateauing. They don't see progress and they start to quit. Hi, Virginia. Welcome. The other piece of this is maybe you have the drive, but you don't have the determination. And this is often someone who gets, and you'll see this on the next slide, someone who gets super excited for something, whether they find roller derby, they fall in love with it. They start a new workout plan. They find some new sport. They meet a certain person and they get really excited, but they don't have any long-term vision. And so what ends up happening is they end up getting short results for a short period of time. Who's ever started going to the gym and then stopped going? You're like, oh, it's the new year. I have drive and I'm excited because it's the new year. But you didn't have any long-term vision or determination. And so maybe you got a little bit fit for a little while and then it just stopped. And everything else fell apart because maybe you had the discipline and the drive to show up for a little bit, but you didn't have that long-term determination. And so you got short-term results. Okay. The third piece that this could look like is you might have determination. There's something that you want so badly. I see this with a lot of people inside of Derby that have been stuck at the same spot for a while. Is they really oh, I want this thing so bad, but then they rarely ever show up to practice. They're not cross training outside of practice. They're not doing the work, but they talk a really big game. This is sort of what I would call, this is a lot of times, it's almost like entitlement. If there's ever an area in your life where you think you should just have something, but you don't actually want to put in the work, but you're still showing up and you want it, and you're frustrated, you're not happy about having it. What's happening is you're thinking about it and you're not doing it. Hey, Dina. Hey, Jay, Heather. And so this happens with a lot of people, right? Is we get this oh, I really want it, but I don't actually put in any action or any effort. And these people, they end up thinking about it a lot and then just not doing anything. So ask yourself, what is missing for you? Do you need to be focusing in the second half of the year on amping up your discipline? Is it that you see what you want, You really fucking want it, but you're just having trouble getting your foot out the door. If so, then the short term showing up muscle, the just doing it muscle, this is where you need to start. Okay. Or are you someone who's maybe been showing up, but you've kind of lost the vision, right? Especially halfway through a season, it's very easy to get in the habit of showing up to practice, in the habit of showing up to training. Hey, Marnie, in the habit of just kind of showing up, but we kind of lose the drive and the vision. And so it's just kind of like it becomes business as usual. Is that you? So maybe you're someone who, number one, needs the discipline. Number two, are you someone who needs that drive? You need that oomph? Or are you someone who, halfway through the season, you feel like you've been working really hard, you show up, you've been pushing hard, but you don't really believe you can have the long-term goal. Maybe you don't believe you can have the roster spot and now you're feeling tired. Maybe you don't believe that your team's actually going to make it. And so you're like, I don't really know if I'm going to do it until. Right? So you have to have all of these three pieces here. I'm just going to check the comments. Whoa, that's my voice. There we go. How do I get to the comments? There they are. Sweet. Perfect. I'm just making sure I didn't catch anything. All right. So if this is making sense to you, comment in the chat box with got it. Yeah, okay. Courtney says maybe mine is determination because I lack confidence. 100%, Courtney, this is great. A lot of times, people that are lacking determination are lacking confidence because they don't necessarily believe that they can do it. And oftentimes, for most of us, what we want is we want to believe, we want to have the proof that we can do the thing before we have the confidence to do it. And that's the thing about being an elite athlete in any area of your life is that confidence comes from determination. Confidence comes from, I'm going to do it the best that I can. And when you do that, when you bring that in, the confidence is something that's going to come, but you can't wait to be confident and sure that you can do something before you go for it. Okay. So that's where it's like you almost have to like suspend belief or look back at other places in your life where you can draw experience of, well, I did this and I didn't think I could do it. Here's another area where I was strong, or draw from the experience of other people. Who was in the situation just like you and they did it? There's plenty, especially in like Derby, there's so much social proof of people that started on the bottom, now they're here. I'm a great example of that. I'm someone who I started roller derby. I was a smoker, drinker, fast food eater, right? I was a bartender. I was like not in super great shape. When I poured myself into derby, I started getting good and then I transferred leagues and I could not plow stop to save my life and I didn't make the team. All my friends moved on from sub pole and I was stuck. And it was so fucking frustrating and so gut wrenching. But because I had the determination and I had the I'm going to do it until, that's what pulled me forward and allowed me to work hard every practice. That's what pulled me forward and had me have the discipline to show up not just every day, but show up early and work on the things that I needed to work on. Yeah, I love it. Yes, Courtney says imposter syndrome. Girl, I'm writing a book on it. It's coming out. Don't worry, I got you on that one. So this is the first piece, is understanding the 3Ds of being an elite athlete. Okay, so even if you're not commenting in the chat box, which those of you watching the recording, I hope that you will, write this stuff down for yourself. Okay, this is your action plan. So the second piece is understanding the results motivation curve. Okay, I pulled this from a website called Physiconomics. I love this guy's stuff. He does a really great job of breaking down a lot of fitness stuff, and I thought this was so great. And I think this is what most people's roller derby seasons sometimes end up looking like, right? The suck in the middle here. So first we have motivation at the top, and then we have time along the bottom. Okay, so obviously in the beginning, we're super excited, motivation is high. Maybe we start to see some initial results. You've been showing up to practice, you've been training really hard. You're like, okay, we can do this. Maybe you guys have a win. Maybe you start to get like rostered a little bit more. But then the reality and the boredom of doing the work sets in. And that's this time what we call the suck. Okay. This is for a lot of people. They join Derby, they get really excited, they start to learn some skills, but then they feel like they're not going as fast as they should. They should all over themselves. They create a false expectation around how fast they think they should go. And then their motivation falls because now you're in the suck. And the suck is the span of time where you're doing everything right. but you start to doubt the process. Now, change is still happening under the surface. You're still getting a little bit better at your power slides. You're still learning how to juke past someone. Your team, maybe this is a team thing. Your team during the season is still working on new plays that are maybe frustrating, and we're trying to get everyone cohesive. Christy says that's her right now. This is where most people give up. They give up inside of the suck because they think that it's supposed to be highly motivated and magical forever. And I'm here to pop your bubble and tell you, if you want to be an elite athlete, if you want to be a high performer in your job, if you want to have a great relationship, it's not going to be motivation, high motivation, magic, and butterflies forever. There's going to be a lot of suck. And so, as an elite athlete, as a high performer, it's important that you understand that you're going to live most of your life in the suck. And if you can stop fighting against it, if you can stop making the hard part wrong and instead just making it the work, then it allows it to be a little less painful, right? This is where we can use the discipline of showing up, and then the drive and the my brain just stopped working, and the determination of the vision to pull us through. Marnie says, I just roll up in the where people give up curve, like half pipe between suck and project. Is that your spot? Is that your spot, Marnie? You just live in this little, it's like when you're trying to do the half pipe and you get up and then you like roll back down again and you just sit in that little bowl where people give up. But that's exactly it, right? Like most people sit there. And so as an athlete, it's important to understand that doing the work is the payoff. Amanda says, for the first time in life, I made it past suck. My damn ankle snapped. So fucking frustrated, dude. I'm so sorry. Oh, it's so frustrating. Stupid ankles. But now, it's like now you have to do the same thing. Right now, it's the motivation of like, I got to heal. I got to do the rehab. And then let's get you through the suck of healing, which thankfully you can't give up on healing. Like you're going to heal anyways, right? But just understanding, if you can understand this curve of like, okay, I have to get through this, right? So my question is for you, where in your season right now are you? Are you maybe your team just had a really great tournament coming into the second half of the season, right? And you have some new results and you guys are so excited. Maybe you moved up a spot on the roster, but now we have to probably settle back down into that suck a little bit more because there's probably some work that has to get done. There's maybe some not fun practices that are going to be really hard work. God, we used to have these practices. We would do like 20 minutes of these sprinting falls and sprawls where we'd start on the one long end of the track all the way to the other long end of the track. We would run, we would fall, sprawl, turn around, get back up, and sprint all the way back. And we would do these like horrific things all the way down and back for like 20 minutes. And I just remember there were times where I would just do it and cry. I would just cry while doing it because it was fucking hard, but I wasn't going to give up on myself and I wasn't going to give up on my team, right? I was having the discipline to just keep going. I was using the people around me as my drive, my teammates. And even if I had to cry my way through it, sometimes I just had to cry my way through it because it was fucking hard. But you know what? On the other side of that, we ended up finishing number 4 in the fucking world. And it was worth it because we had that vision at that time when I was playing with Angel City. Oh yeah, Rowdy knows all about broken ankles. Awesome. So ask yourself, where is it that you are in this motivation curve? Okay. Are you in the suck? Are you maybe just past the suck, right? Like Amanda said, she got past the suck. You got past the suck, Amanda. It means you can do it again, but also understand that this is going to happen over and over again. Okay. So the third piece of this is an important piece to understand, especially as we are coming into the second half of the season, is the staleness cycle. Okay. This is important for preventing burnout. So everything we've been talking about is the drive, is the push, is the showing up. And that part is so important. But on the other side of that is understanding when your body needs a rest. We lost our 2 best jammers, so I'm about to get worked. Oh yeah, get it, Courtney. Marnie says team is low on numbers. We have to go and train with other teams just to get training in. Yeah, and Marnie, like that might be the suck for your team right now, right? Is like, this is what you guys have to do to get through this. But I'm sure on the other side of that is recruitment, right? On the other side of that is each of those individual players getting better. Like in any situation, we have these points where it's like when shitty stuff happens, like we have to go through that work in order to get to the other side. So the staleness cycle. So this is something that I want you guys to keep an eye out for as you're moving into the second half of the season, is this concept of staleness. Okay. Now what this looks like in a top performing athlete, or someone who's really been working hard, is it's a clear drop in athlete motivation and a plateau in performance. Okay. Now this is where, remember, I just said in the 3Ds that you might see a plateau if you have the discipline to show up, but you're lacking the drive or the determination. Okay. Now it's important for you to check in and ask yourself, are you feeling stale and are you plateauing because you're not working hard? Or are you starting to have a drop in motivation and plateau because maybe you're exhausted? Okay. Now, what happens for most people in this cycle is they see this, they've been working really hard. They've been working through the season. They've been pushing. And then all of a sudden they have this just like lull, right? This exhaustion. And it probably happens inside of the suck, right? Because we're working so hard and it just feels exhausting. And we have this drop in performance. And so what most of us do in this situation is we try to amp everything up. We try to overtrain. We increase our workouts. We're like, okay, we got to do more training sessions. We got to overcompensate for the staleness, right? So we take what was already our personal body, mental endurance thermometer that's dropping, and we suck all the life out of it by trying to just do more. We think more is better, okay? And then this is inevitably what leads to burnout. This comes in the form of psychological or physical symptoms. This could be extreme fatigue. This could be depression. This could be anxiety. This could be injury, right? These things come when we're burnt out. So it's important to understand and catch this at the beginning of the cycle. And what happens is when we're not giving ourselves enough rest, I'm going to just go back. What happens is inside of this suck, I don't know if you guys can see my mouse. I'm assuming you can. But inside of this suck, as the results are kind of plateauing, right, as we're doing the work to get better, what we think is, well, I want to get back up here. I want to get more results. And so we try to do more. And then we end up just getting totally exhausted and burning ourselves out. So it's also important to understand that sometimes inside of the suck, more doesn't always mean faster. Sometimes it's the slow and steady and the consistency that's going to get you there. I want you to write this down. If you happen to be taking notes, I want you to write down slow is smooth and smooth is fast. Amanda, this is a great one for you with that ankle of yours. Slow is smooth and smooth is fast. Okay. So as we're coming into the next section of the season, I really want you to ask yourself, are you having a drop in motivation because you're getting burnt out? Are you training too many days a week? Are you having too many practices? Okay. So the way that you can break this cycle to avoid psychological burnout, to avoid injury, is number one, is you can periodize your training, meaning you do not have to go hard all year round with training. In fact, I really suggest that you don't. So what this could look like is in, let's say, like a 90-day cycle leading up to a tournament. The first 2 months, you may be building and building and building, doing harder and harder workouts, lifting more and more weight, like whatever it is that you're doing, increasing the intensity over the course of a 2-month period. And then in that month leading up to your tournament, dropping down your training so that you can rest your body and then using that extra energy to come into your game. I was just talking to one of my clients today who fractured her foot. And she said she was so amazed because she's been working with me for almost a year now. And, she's like, I've been showing up at the gym every day. I've been working really hard. And she goes, and I was so amazed that after this chunk of time that I had to take off with this fractured foot, she goes, when I went back to the gym, I wasn't miserable. She was like, I couldn't believe it. She's like, all that work that I had been doing leading up to it, my body didn't forget. And so it's important that we understand that periodization in training is incredibly important to prevent the staleness cycle, to prevent burnout, and to prevent injury. Okay. So having a system for your training and then dropping off, having deload weeks leading up to tournaments or leading up to maybe like a game or leading up to a tryout, these are all things that are going to help you break the staleness cycle. The second piece of this is having rest and recovery strategies specifically for a weekly basis. Okay. This means having specific rest days. This means making sure that you're stretching. This means, do you know what we just talked about protein in Crash Course today. Do you know what your protein, how much protein you should be getting in order for your muscles to recover, right? Are you drinking enough water? Having rest and recovery strategies is equally as important on a weekly basis as it is on a periodization practice. Okay. Because you need that time on a regular basis to let your body relax. Otherwise, you can end up with like adrenal fatigue. You can really pump your body so hard that it's not going to recover. And instead, what it's going to do is it's going to shut down mentally and physically. Okay. This also means, what's your sleep patterns like? On a day after a hard practice, are you letting yourself sleep in? Or are you making yourself get up and go to the gym? Which one of those do you think is more beneficial? Because likely it's probably sleeping in and resting. It's probably not taking your exhausted body to the gym. But when we're in the overtraining phase to overcompensate, we think it's going to the gym. Okay. Let's see. Hi, Bridget. Welcome. The next piece of this is, really looking at what is our motivating factors. Okay. Because a lot of times the staleness and the overtraining, this stuff comes when we start focusing on external factors like winning, like getting a trophy, like being an MVP. We start focusing on what's the thing we're going to get in the future instead of how do I want to feel in this practice? This could almost be looked at almost like determination versus drive. Okay. The drive is, how much do I want to just put my all into this practice? How do I want to feel in this jam? Did I give it my very best right now? Whereas external factors like, I want to win, I want to get the MVP, I want to make sure that that our team gets the championship or whatever. And so when we start focusing on these external factors, we start ignoring the cues of our body. Whereas if we're focusing on, I want to play my best game today, it allows us to listen to, how does our body feel? Okay. And that allows us to give ourselves permission to then create more rest and recovery strategies, because we're not just obsessing over the trophy, because we're knowing that we're going to break down before we even get there. Okay. Another final piece of breaking the staleness cycle is being a well-rounded human. And what I mean by this is, I love roller derby. I love sports. But when it becomes all that we do, you are setting yourself up for the staleness cycle, especially in the long term. As someone who's been playing roller derby since 2006, I can tell you that it's important that you become a well-rounded human. Have friends outside of roller derby. The dogs all agree. The dogs are all in on this one. They're like, yeah, have puppies. Have puppies. Have things to do. Have things to do outside of derby. Like, have people and a life and a career. Make sure that you're feeding your soul with things other than just your sport. Or if we're talking about this whole thing in terms of a high performer for your career, make sure you're feeding your soul with something outside of your career. If this is your relationship that you want to be amazing, feed your soul with something outside of your relationship. It's important that we are multifaceted human beings, and this is going to allow us to keep from hitting that staleness, to keep from that overtraining, to keep that burnout, because we're not just going to be like a hammer just smashing into the same nail over and over and over and over again. You want to be like a Swiss Army knife that can like hit the nail, but then also screw the screw, but then also like, I don't know, open the can of beer, but then also like pry open the paint can. You know what I mean? Like, you want to be able to do a lot of stuff, not just the one thing, because it's going to allow you to prevent burnout. So I'm curious, and you're more than welcome to comment in the chat box with, where are you in this staleness cycle? Are you in this staleness cycle? What of these breaking the cycle strategies are you most resonating with that you need to take on? So I ask you again, how will you finish this season? How will you finish this year? And you can comment on the chat box. If you want to take these and write these down as homework and then post this into the group, I would make my little coachy heart so happy to support you if you would please write down these 5 questions and then post them in the Crash Course community page after this, because that way we can support you. So, oh, Courtney says, yeah, probably overtraining. So I want you to write down, what are your end of season goals? And you can comment in the chat box, would love to see it. Also, you can post in the group. What's keeping you from reaching them? Is it the discipline of showing it up? Is it the drive and the effort that you need to be putting in? Is it the determination and the long-term vision? How can you embrace the suck? What is it about that area of just doing the work? What do you need to say to yourself? What do you need to shift in your story? Where do you need to have more patience so that you can lean into the suck without trying to do more and burning yourself out? Which means number 4, what steps can you take to avoid burnout? Where do you need to keep your training in check? Where do you need to keep your priorities in check? Where do you need to keep your work boundaries in check? Is there something that you have been saying yes to that you need to say no to? This is really, really key. And then my question is, who's going to hold you accountable to this plan? Because, it's one thing to answer all these questions, it's one thing to have all these ideas, but it is quite another to have a community, to have support, to have people that are holding you accountable. Because the one thing that I've found is it's very difficult for people to hold themselves accountable. And honestly, it's one of the reasons we created Crash Course, because I believe that having a like-minded community of athletes that are all holding each other accountable, moving towards similar goals, it really helps you to pull yourself forward into a new version of yourself, because other people are seeing you as that person. They're expecting you to show up as that person. And so if you need a community, if you need support, if you need a freaking plan, this is something that Crash Course does. We're accepting a couple new members right now. There is an interview process. We don't take in everyone, but if you feel like you're highly motivated, if you feel like some of the stuff that I've been saying today was resonating with you, you're more than welcome to apply. You can either comment in the chat box with "I'm in," and I can send you over an application, or you can just direct message me with these 5 questions. If you want bonus points and more likely to get into my program, just direct message me with your answer to these 5 questions. You will get a lot of bonus points. Let's see. Rowdy says, I'm doing the work and training, but I'm doubting myself that I can make this trip. Yep. I keep picturing myself stuck midway back up. Oh, Rowdy. This is so good. So when I was training for the 6th hardest marathon in the world, I was doing the opposite. I was imagining running across the finish line. I was imagining being my own cheerleader. And I'll have to say, one of the things that happened was in mile 9 of 26 miles, my right quad seized up. And I had to finish the entire thing being my own freaking cheerleader. And so the thing is Rowdy, like, you're going to train as hard as you can, and you might get a little slowed down, but I feel like I know you. And I feel like in the moment, you are going to figure your way up that thing. But if you do want any help with training, or if you want me to check your training plan, you can go ahead and send me stuff over. But I 100% know that you can do it. And I think the thing to remember is that we can use our imagination for good or for evil. And the reality is that you're going to either get stuck or not get stuck on your way back up that mountain. So, what if instead you practiced imagining yourself finishing it successfully? Because even then, even if you do get stuck, then you're only stuck for a day instead of a day and then the 4 months leading up to it that you tortured yourself during your training. Hi, Christina. I panicked. So hopefully this is helpful. So you guys have any other questions, any other support needed, comment in the chat box with questions, comment with aha moments. Once again, and like I said, if you have any questions about Crash Course, feel free to shoot me a DM. And like I said, if you send me those 5 questions, you get extra credit. And thank you guys so much for joining me, and we'll see ya later.